one-score deficit. Could be worse. I think it's going to get a lot better in the second half.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, halftime show, Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Thanks for hanging out on Twitter Spaces and YouTube. Interesting first half of the Cardinals. Huge play by Greg Dortch to set up the 1 yard touchdown by James Conner. This team has showed resolve tonight. The play calling's been up and down. There were a couple masterful play calls by Cliff Kingsbury, and all in all, it's been fine. They've played fine. Rondale Moore out after the first play of the game, it seemed like, with a groin injury. But all in all, this team has played fine. And when you look at the magnitude of this game, and you look at what the Cardinals season would look like if they were to win this game, being within a score at halftime, it's a good thing. Thanks for hanging out. Excuse the lighting here. I'm on location, Northern California, visiting my parents for Thanksgiving. And without Kyler Murray, the offense has looked good. DeAndre Hopkins is still, in my opinion, a top 3 receiver in the league, and it showed again in the first half. The defense has had a tough time hanging in with the playmakers. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle got loose on a broken play. When it comes to what we watched, though, overall, could be worse, could be a little bit better, but not much. I mean, the offense was moving. The issue has been, the big issue has been first downs. First down play calls or first down execution. They've had negative plays on first down a couple times. They've had, they haven't been able to get consecutive first downs. It's been a lot of third and mediums. And, they've been able to execute. They haven't thrown a lot of deep balls on third down. They threw one to DeAndre Hopkins, which was really nice on the left side where he toe tapped. But all in all, it's been fine as an entity in the first half. Jimmy Garoppolo, the issues are so far is that Jimmy Garoppolo has had all the time in the world to do everything that he wants. And I said all week on Locked On Cardinals that if he has tea parties in the backfield, it's going to be a long night for the Cardinals. Because if you can't get Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense off their rhythm, it's going to be a long night. And the majority of the time, they've been on their rhythm, and the Cardinals have been able, to withstand. The one difference is the turnover. James Conner with a lazy grab, a lazy snag, I guess you could call it, at the ball that ended up being a tip drill interception, which turned into a touchdown. That's it. That's the differentiation between the two in the first half. One turnover by the Cardinals. And so I need to address this. Like, I'm never one. I never just rag on the referees for bad calls. I never rag on the referees for, really anything, because just go win the game. There's going to be bad calls on either side. There were some bad calls today in the first half. DeAndre Hopkins, that was baller. I would take 15 yards every single time. Every single time. I would take 15 yards for that. And all over Twitter, just the NFL soft, the NFL soft. If two guys can't stop DeAndre Hopkins, he should be able to point at him, I think. There were, it was just, there was a holding call. They got picked up. And, it just, the refs have been erring on the side of the better national media story this time, which is the 49ers. And we'll see if it corrects itself in the second half. But the Cardinals have played well enough to be in this game. They can't give up the big play to Deebo Samuel or George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk had a great touchdown route. I mean, he's emerging as one of the better route runners in the NFL. And all in all, it's been fine. And the Cardinals haven't really beaten, aside from the turnover and the DeAndre Hopkins one, because, DeAndre Hopkins, I don't care. I take that off board. Like whenever, like J.J. Watt got that 15-yard penalty a couple of weeks back, and then DeAndre Hopkins got that 15-yard penalty, you know what? You can't rag them because they're the reason. DeAndre Hopkins is the reason that the offense is here. But aside from the turnover, they haven't really been shooting themselves in the foot. And they're playing a competent offensive game with Kyler Murray out and now with Rondale Moore questionable to return, which usually means he's second half. What do the Cardinals need to do to get a victory? They have to get to Jimmy Garoppolo. Have to. Vance Joseph has been excellent over his tenure as the defensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals at halftime adjustments. They have to send a lot more players than they have in the first half. They've got to blitz. They've got to blitz. And you know what? If the Cardinals lose, they lose. But at least they're going down, trying to cut off the head of the snake, which is Jimmy Garoppolo. They've got to blitz more. They've got to blitz more and let their playmakers on the second and third levels make plays, turn the ball over. They've got to turn Jimmy Garoppolo over. Like, they can't just hope that the 49ers don't, execute on third down, because they're one of the better teams in the NFL doing it. And the Cardinals defense has to be as good as they were in the first half. And the Cardinals offense has to be better. They just have to be better. The turnover was really difficult. It was really the tipping point. The defense has played fine. All you need to do is have the defense play fine, and the offense should be able to take care of the rest, regardless of who's at quarterback. The skill position players are good enough. Greg Dortch has shown that, we'll talk about it in the offseason, but Greg Dortch looked to be equally as good as Rondale Moore is, and if they can feed Greg Dortch, which is the second thing that they need to do in the second half, is he's going to be he's the guy that can change the game. We saw it with the 47-yard catch and run. He's the guy that can change the game. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be consistent as gravity. He's going to do everything you expect for him to do. But Greg Dortch is, as I talked about on Locked On Cardinals all week, he's a Tesla. He's 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. So if you can get the ball to him in space, any catch could be a large chunk run. So the fact that the Cardinals are in 17-10 game at halftime, this is it. I said it on Locked On Cardinals today. This is a defining moment for Cliff Kingsbury. He's never had a better record in the second half of the season than the first, ever. Since his inception as a coach at any level. If the Cardinals can come back and win this game in Mexico City in a game where moving to 5-6 completely changes the outlook of this season. 5-6 and 4-7 are vastly different. If he can lead this team and the offense can be efficient and they can score 2 touchdowns, which is probably what it's going to take, if not more, and they get out of Mexico City with a win and move to 5-6, this could be a career-defining moment for Cliff Kingsbury and the night where it changes forever. We don't know because we haven't seen it before. We don't know if he's eligible to do it, if he has the wherewithal to do it. But if he can put together a game plan that gets the Cardinals a victory out of this game, we're going to be talking wildly differently about Cliff Kingsbury come Monday, at least for the time being. I was Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging out on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube. I will check you all at the end of the game on my post-game podcast live just on YouTube.